everyone. We will be starting in maybe 1 minute as we wait for just a few people to join us. Thank you for your patience and welcome to this session. We're very excited to have a very interesting panel joining us today. Just before we start, a quick announcement. This webinar will have English to French translation. So we ask you to select the language that you want to listen to the speakers in. At the bottom of your screen, there is a globe and there are different English and French language channels. Please select the channel that you wish to listen in on. I think maybe we can get started.
Shall we start? Yeah, can I start, Kauri? Is that okay?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, okay, good. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody, wherever you are. My name is Mustafa Belmamar. I am the Acting Program Manager of the Africa Transport Policy Program. Welcome to this webinar. As you know, road safety is one of the main challenges in Africa and therefore remains a priority area for the Africa Transport Policy Program for the next 5 years. And supporting transport institutions being at the core of the program. Therefore, we wanted to assess the performance of these road safety institutions in a certain number of countries in Africa. So despite the presence of these institutions in charge of road safety in many countries, road safety performance remains a concern. Management systems are inadequate and interventions are weak. Recognizing this problem, the Global Road Safety Facility and the Africa Development Bank commissioned the Africa Transport Policy Program to conduct a study to review the performance of road safety institutions in 16 African countries. This study is also part of a global study being conducted by the World Health Organization, WHO. So this webinar will present the main findings and recommendation of this study. And I hope at the end of this webinar, you're going to learn about the different institutions arrangement by countries. From one country to another, the institutional setup is different. You're going to learn what contributed to the success of some of these road safety institutions. And also it's a webinar and a study that will come with some recommendations how to improve the performance of these institutions based on experience. Participants will also hear from the heads of road safety institutions from Morocco, South Africa, and Mali. We will also hear the World Health Organization's perspective, who has undertaken the same study at a global level. Again, supporting road safety institutions remains one of the priority areas of SSATP, and I believe that the study that will be presented and discussed today will help us have a better understanding of the challenges and will also help us identify some additional priority areas for further support. So I would like to kindly now ask Kauri, our External and Communication Officer, to introduce the presenters and the panelists. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a good webinar. Thank you.
Welcome to the webinar. I would like to introduce for our next, the presentation of the study on road safety lead agencies, the main authors of the study, who will be presenting its findings to you today. So first, I would like to present Winnie Mitula. She's the research professor at the Institute for Development Studies at the University of Nairobi, and she has a background in political science and public administration. She's specialized in policy, institutions, and governance, with research interests in the provision and management of urban services. Also, I would like to introduce Mustafa Azuzi. He's an international transport and road safety specialist with 12 years of experience in over 25 countries in the government, consultancy, and research sector. He's a qualified RSA and RSI certified trainer and has conducted over 700 road safety audits globally, training over 1,200 professionals and developing numerous strategies and studies. Then, last but not least, Mr. Martin Small, who is a leading road safety management consultant and has worked extensively across Africa and Asia for a variety of clients, including the Africa Transport Policy Program on projects in Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Lesotho, Eswatini, Nigeria, Ghana, and others. Now, without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Winnie, who will kickstart the presentation. Martin, please go ahead and share.
Thank you very much, Kauri. Thank you, and great to be in this platform. I think I will straight away begin our presentation, which is in 3 parts, as highlighted by Kauri. I'll take the first part, and my colleague Mustafa will follow, and then Martin will conclude with the recommendations. So let me first appreciate Mustafa's brief, just as we roll out, the fact that road safety has become quite an issue and a problem, both positive and negative in our context, depending on how countries handle it. And in particular, within the region, we find that most people know about road safety. That's a good part of road safety, because it's not just a policy issue. At a practical level, citizens are exposed to the issues relating to road safety. So basically, what we highlight is the fact that the acknowledgement and appreciation of the role that road safety lead agencies should take is quite highlighted. In particular, if I may use the African Road Safety Charter, which creates the road safety lead agencies, clearly articulates what they should do, in particular, the role in policy advice and formulation and coordination of implementation of road safety strategies. And this is basically because across the continent, there are very many actors in road safety. So it's great that the charter highlights that the role is coordination, and that is something that we appreciate. Again, the importance again is with the African Road Safety Observatory established in 2020. And basically, again, focusing on the issue of sharing and exchanging, data, knowledge and data and experiences across the continent, because this, again, are areas of concern. Countries and data and availability of data to inform policy is one area that in our study, as you will hear, comes out very clearly that there is a lot to be done in that area. I'll go to the next PowerPoint. if you look at when we approach this study, some of the justification have already been highlighted by Mustafa. Indeed, if we acknowledge that the concern is as serious as it is with all these injuries and fatalities that we are seeing across the continent, and then again related to that data is not easily available, then our work for sure targeted also availing some data that policymakers and practitioners can use. Also, the fact that there is limited attempt to link the management capacity of these road safety lead agencies to observed road safety outcomes. And the observed road safety outcomes are quite glaring. I think that is where the concern that drives the entire globe about road safety comes from. If you look at issues of death, serious injuries, hospitalization, and economic cost of crashes, then we are in the same platform in terms of addressing the challenges that Africa and African countries face. Of course, even if you look at safety performance in terms of the issues of reduction of traffic injuries or safety measures, the way we can improve them, there is a lot to be engaged in that area. Of course, if you look at in terms of evidence, we will definitely say if data is limited, then evidence is also likely not to be quite much. So we found there is limited evidence on whether road safety lead agencies are achieving intended goals of improving road safety status. And that is what then led to our focusing on this. In terms of the aims of the study, we assessed the organizational performance of road safety lead agencies, and we looked at performance in quite different ways. We look at the legal, we look at issues of whether they have updated road safety legislation, issues of funding, governance constraints, and also system constraints, whether they are technical or not. And these are areas that we thought that are critical in terms of delving deep into understanding how the road safety lead agencies in Africa operate. Of course, today we aimed, and we will see this when Martin highlights what we are suggesting, which you need to discuss this afternoon, coming up at least with some directions towards improvement of road safety. And we will discuss that as we go along. Next. These are the countries. These are the countries, as you can see, hopefully you are near your computers. These are the countries that we covered across Africa. And as you will see in the next PowerPoint, we had quite some good justification in terms of why we covered them. You can see the spread. I think what you need to see on that is just the spread. When I get to this methodology to link it to that picture, but we did have a two-phase study because this study was quite big and broad. So we had the first phase, which literally went into literature, trying to understand what exists that we could learn from before we develop our instruments of investigation. So we did a real big, good literature review before we could get into doing the study. And here again, I want to note one thing, that it was a collaborative approach, quite collaborative approach. And the team leaders, project leaders that we worked with at the World Bank, Tawia Ashong, then Girma Bezabe, very, very useful. And then Meleki Khaesi of World Bank. So straight away from rolling out the study, from getting to develop the instruments, we were closely engaging with each other and sharing and getting the reviews from this lead team. And also we used a colleague who supported our work in terms of review of literature, Noella Bajia, whom we are very grateful to. And that really supported the first phase of the study, which then led to, once the report, and that is available as well, that review is available with the World Bank, the literature review relating to this study, which is not the study per se, but informed the study. In that phase, we were able to use that product to inform the development of the research instruments, which we are mainly two. We had a questionnaire, and we also had a checklist of issues for for the focus group discussions. And at this point, I wish to also note that we would have preferred to also have key informant interviews, but we were limited a bit in resources, so we couldn't complement the two with key informant interviews. But we do feel that the information we got was good enough to inform the study. Next. So the second phase, which is the last in terms of the presentation on methodology, this second phase, having been equipped with all that knowledge, with a literature review and a good team on the ground, we then set now to do the primary part of the study. And this involved, again, making a decision on how do we then implement these questionnaires in the middle of COVID and all those challenges. So we were facilitated and we were able to have research assistants across the 16 countries. I think 1 or 2 combined, 1 or 2 countries. So we had in total 13 research assistants. And again, one thing to note is that these research assistants facilitated us. We dealt online with the road safety lead agencies, but the research assistants were on the ground and could easily follow up some of the issues and also conduct a focus group discussions on the ground. We recruited very competitively in terms of getting them on board, and we were supported again by the World Bank. And some of us, we could join some of the focus group discussions which were online. And that was also very useful in listening to some of the discussions that road safety actors across Africa were saying, because this brought literally most of these agencies that support the road safety area. They could be drawn from the NGOs, development partners, and that was very quite engaging. Of course, at the end of the day, we had similar tools. That is critical to know as you wait to listen to the findings of that study. The questionnaire was one for all the 16 countries. The checklist of issues was also developed by the team of the 3 researchers. And of course, training, we did training for the researchers so that we could ensure that what they're implementing, they all have a common understanding of what we are trying to get. At the end of the day, all these researchers were able to write their focus group discussion reports. And of course, then we got to the last point of data analysis and writing, which then has informed this study that we are going to be sharing in terms of the findings that we found out. So at this point, I think I want to call upon my colleague to take you through the findings. Then he can hand it over to our next team member, Mustafa Asouzi.
Thank you, Winnie. Good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this part where we are going to learn all together about the main findings of this beautiful study. And of course, I would like also to thank the whole team mentioned by Winnie, who helped us to conduct and deliver this study. Well, road safety lead agencies in the 16 countries engaged in this study operate in different legal and institutional contexts that are reflected in the performance of various functions. This section reports findings for the 16 agencies as a whole under the following themes: institutions, result focus, coordination and promotion, funding and capacity, monitoring and evaluation, and last, performance. It then provides the results of the road safety lead agency's self-reporting of their own performance, the result of an analysis of the related 8 system programs identified across countries and the responses to the research questions. Well, let's start with institutions. In this section, we will highlight the institutional aspect in general. As shown in the first figure, 3 institutional forms were identified among the 15 countries of 16 countries studied. 7 agencies identified as government departments, 5 as autonomous agencies, And the reminder as a council with a professional secretariat. 10 of the agencies reported having a road safety policy document to guide them in general. Furthermore, there is a national interagency body in 3/4 of the countries covered by this study, since the capacity of the road safety lead agencies to lead is regulated by the quality of its legal mandate. Many agency mandates require straightening. Let's now point to the second figure below, where it is observed that the internal organization of the road safety lead agencies was highly variable, given their scope and size. Usually, the main functions of departments are focused on road safety education, road safety sensibilization, and general efforts, while road safety data, driving license or driver training and driving school regulations are the most prevalent functions executed by these departments. Next. Result focus is the most important function in the road safety management pyramid. In the beginning, to address this function, we looked for the existence of road safety strategies in Africa. The first figure reveals that country strategies exist and are well aligned with global and continental frameworks, such as, for example, the SDGs, the UN Decade of Road Safety, and the African Road Safety Action Plan. Although strategies are mostly in line with global orientations, implementation of road safety activities in line with the safe system and targets is deficient. Well, the table at the bottom shows that vision, targets, internal action plan, and so on are mostly compliant with good practice, of course, but a huge mismatch between the theoretical ambitions and the actual production of road safety outputs and outcomes is clearly observed. In addition, not all stakeholders use respective strategies to achieve their road safety objectives and goals. Another positive point to mention here is that the national road safety strategy is typically supported by an internal road safety lead agency action plan or internal strategy, reflecting the road safety vision in general and targets related to death and serious injuries. It is important to also mention that the most surveyed countries only include deaths, and some countries include serious injuries in their final safety outcomes, while intermediate indicators and risk factors mostly do not exist at all. Next. As previously stated, the legislation or legislative reform is a key means of implementing strategy. Road safety lead agencies need to work with stakeholders to revise, update, and approve laws and regulations related to road users' behaviors, driving licensing, vehicle safety, infrastructure safety, and so on. More details were included in the main report about this section, but we have chosen two figures as shown alongside, where the first one on the top illustrates that over 80% of road safety lead agencies have undertaken revisions of legislation related to road safety. However, the content of these revisions often does not comply with the international guidelines and good practices. Ditto, the second figure highlights that the highest number of revisions related to road user behaviors, but revisions are infrequent and do not keep pace with the rapid development of road safety, science, and sector in general. As a conclusion, the legislative revisions in Africa are not following the trend required and need a deep straightening. Next. Now let's go to the coordination and promotion. As you know, road safety is a complex field with many sectors and many actors, both public and private, having direct responsibilities for and interest in road safety prevention. This complexity requires, in general, requires efficient coordination and engagement of all stakeholders. This section tries to understand the coordination and promotion aspects in Africa. First, as illustrated in the following figures, 3/4 of agencies reported that the existence of an interagency body, so it exists, and nearly 2/3 of these were established under law, which is good. There is also insufficient attention paid to interagency governance structures, which weakens the support and the commitment expected from all stakeholders outside the government. In fact, not all road safety-led agencies have been able to exploit the powerful ministries within which they are located to strengthen coordination and activities. Finally, it seems that the coordination is skewed towards the needs of road safety-led agencies rather than toward a continual systematic coordinations anchored on road safety strategy and planning. Next. To further emphasize the coordination aspect, road safety-led agencies were asked to rate the effectiveness of their coordination with different groups of stakeholders, and the results are illustrated in the following radar chart. The average rating in effectiveness of coordination were 3.2 out of 5. The highest ratings were, as you see in the chart, were for the effectiveness of coordination with the Ministry of Transport and police. This reflects, of course, the primary responsibility of road safety within the transport sector, followed by the enforcement sector. The lowest ratings were for coordination with local governments and the communities, which is concerning a bit as these groups interact directly with the local road safety issues, including crash scenes. Stakeholders outside the government in general are much less likely to be engaged by road safety-led agencies in coordination compared to the multilateral development banks or agencies. In addition, I think also that stakeholders attribute, as a result of this section, the stakeholders attribute coordination weaknesses to several factors, mainly lack of authority over the other agencies, lack of technical expertise, and financial constraints. Next. Well, as for the monitoring and evaluation, data gathering and information sharing are, of course, useful for monitoring, evaluation, and etc. But however, most African countries are weak in data gathering, analysis, storage, and sharing. The bar chart, the big figure on the right side, is related to a type of data gathered and shared across the agencies. It reveals that the basic variables of road safety crash or variables of road crashes in general, such as fatalities and injuries, are widely collected and shared by road safety-led agencies and their partners. However, the charts also illustrate that the intermediate indicators and risk factors are largely not collected, and this is confirmed by a previous study that we've done with African countries while conducting the ARSO, the African Road Safety Observatory status in 2020. D2, the figure below shows that road safety lead agencies and stakeholders do not consider injury reporting to be accurate. This is due to a poor data system leading to underreporting of road data. We know all about it. Regarding monitoring and evaluation, it is critical to road safety, but is not prioritized by road safety lead agencies in Africa. Next. Well, as you know, funding is the essence of carrying out planned road safety activities. In Africa, the public sector remains the leading funder of road safety, followed by the private sector and multilateral development banks. The budget ranges from few thousands of dollars, in the case of Egypt, for example, as reported, to hundreds of millions of dollars, such as in Morocco and Nigeria. It is also reported that more than 80% or 90% in the figure, as you see, then it is reported that more than 90% of road safety lead agencies are unsatisfactory of their funding, while 40% of road safety lead agencies had less than half of the required resources. Consequently, road safety lead agencies operate at below average of financial and human resources and cannot accomplish their mandated functions. Next. As previously stated, development partners support agencies by building national capacities in order to partially fill the gap in technical and support staff. To better understand how to bridge the gap, we asked road safety lead agencies in general to determine their funding priorities as illustrated in the following graph, the radar chart. Her scores represent the average rating on a scale of 1 lowest to 10 highest. Consequently, it is noted that the highest funding priorities are assigned to first, funding and investment bids, second, road safety advocacy and information systems. Third, review of laws, policies, and standards. Fourth, post-crash responses. And last, personal and capacity building. Although data collection and analysis are lacking in Africa, it was not, this was not, I mean, a priority reported by the lead agencies. Next. Well, again, with the performance, measuring and specifying the performance of road safety lead agencies is very difficult. There is a need to understand factors that constrain the road safety lead agencies' performances. 9 constraining factors were identified, and the road safety lead agency were asked to rate each factor on a scale of 1, less problematic, and to 5, most problematic for this radar chart. And the results are shown on the left radar chart, the orange one. As a conclusion, was identified as the most problematic constraint affecting performance, followed by ineffective enforcement and enforcement, of course, of regulations and the traffic law, system constraints, followed also by the lack of data and lack of update legislation. Road safety lead agencies also were also invited to self-rate their overall performance in regard to 14 activities that need to be done to support sustained reduction in road injuries. The results are shown on the right radar chart, the green graphic. To enhance, in general, to enhance the performances, road safety lead agencies pointed the following area of work that need more investments. First of all, the first one is managing resources allocation of available road safety funds, and of course, increasing fundraising. Second, promoting effective road safety activities. Third, promoting road safety within the community. And the last, compilation and dissemination of the national road safety statistics. Next. At the end, the institutional road safety management functions identified earlier in the report were assisted by the researchers based on the questionnaire and stakeholder focus group, FGDs, discussion, and placed into low, medium, and high bands, as illustrated in the next table. Generally speaking, the results focus is banded high, while the coordination and legislation are banded medium. The remaining institutional functions are banded low in red color. I will now give the floor to my colleague Martin to present how to bridge the gaps through a series of thoughtful recommendations and for a better Africa free of road debt. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mustafa. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. And to the lead agencies, people in the lead agencies who contributed to the study. It's your study. We hope that it reflects your situation. And thank you also to the country-based research assistants as well. I think what you can see is that there is an awful lot packed into this report. And I'd encourage you to take a little more time after this webinar to look further at the results and consider what they mean for you in your country. We've given some overall assessments at a very high level for each country about strengths and different aspects of being a lead agency. But what we've really concentrated on is the lessons we can learn across the board, and the recommendations which we can make, which we consider relevant not just for these countries, the 16 in this study, but other countries that we know are facing similar situations in Africa. And so we have two overall. I'm going to just cut to the chase a little on the recommendations and what we've learned. We have two overall recommendations. The first is that national road safety leaders, and you can define that as you wish, should reflect on their own situation and consider the next best steps on the back of this report, given all of the pressures that you have in your country, whether that's the economic environment, whether that's related to political will, availability of funding, or other agendas which are really running hot in your country. For the development partners, we see that this has been a study which is potentially very useful for the continent over an extended period of time. And we would strongly encourage development partners to support lead agency strengthening and commit to two major follow-up programs, to undertake a follow-up study in 2025, and also to prepare a manual for road safety lead agencies. One of the very first things that I encountered when starting work in Africa with a lead agency was, we've established a lead agency, what do we do now? And I think that in some ways what we're trying to do is continue to answer some fundamental questions which some guidance can be provided on. So we have, I have 6 recommendations to go through. The first is relating to the institutional mandate. This really stood out. The safety mandate that an institution has is really important to establish at an early point, and it can't be left to set and forget. It needs to be renewed. It must continually be nourished and never forgotten. All of the actions of the lead agency must in some way be re-energizing the safety mandate that agency has. In a reflection mode, we recommend that countries review and, if necessary, enhance the legislative mandate of the lead agency. And there are good examples of this which is occurring, such as in Ghana most recently, and the wider interagency governance systems for road safety. It is not just within government. This engagement with stakeholders came through loud and clear from the study as being critical. And so we also recommend that countries prepare and convene stakeholder roundtables to discuss this mandate, to discuss governance arrangements, and then speak directly with the government about these things. The next lesson and recommendations, I'm sorry, I've actually gone one there, is relates to the results focus. And it became clear that the strategy development and implementation processes are a really critical focus for a lead agency. It gives the lead agency purpose and agency within what can be quite a complex institutional environment, whether you're dealing with the highways agency or police or health or whatever. There are some good strategies in place. But generally, we recommend that countries review the alignment of those strategies and plans with good practice and work further on an overall performance management framework for road safety in your country. That you focus on supporting stakeholders to develop their own performance measures so that stakeholders can see and act in their own rights to improve the safety of others. There are some specific things around speed limits and associated legislation, as well as compliance with guidance from WHO, and also relating to the safety of motor vehicles. There's some exciting work that's coming through about how the regulation of motor vehicles from a safety perspective is undertaken in Africa. In relation to coordination, we recognise that, and it's been really shown through this study, that establishing and maintaining stakeholder engagement processes are time-consuming, they are difficult, and they are essential. This is a really important point of focus for strengthening governance arrangements at a country level. Important in this is that non-stake actors in the academic world, in business and community sectors are fully engaged. The interagency functions within government are critical, but that much wider community engagement is really important. And the more that you're able to do that, the more that you'll be able to have all stakeholders' activities linked to the overall road safety strategy. Funding. This is a critical governance and institutional issue. The funding source, sustainable funding sources for the road safety lead agency and for the safety programs that are being delivered by other ministries, departments and agencies are really important. The lead agency needs to be funded, but that's insufficient. actually we need to stretch the picture of what the resourcing is required in the country as a whole. So we recommend that countries identify firstly the economic cost of road traffic crashes, and South Africa is a good example where they've actually run a regular cost of crashes study. Identify the resources required to establish or strengthen the lead agency, the resources required to implement the National Road Safety Strategy across all government agencies. So it's really about identifying what the core resourcing needs are, and then switching focus to the funding sources, and a focus on internal funding sources that can then be augmented, possibly, but actually having a focus on the internal sources within a country are really important. Governments levy fuel taxes. There are compulsory insurance premiums. There are charges on motor vehicles, on motor vehicle driver licensing. There's a whole series of mechanisms actually in place that are receiving revenue and are a potential funding source for lead agencies and for road safety. And finally, identify options for establishing a National Road Safety Fund to be managed by the lead agency itself. Another thing which really was really highlighted in the study was the value that lead agencies gain from direct involvement in road safety data management. This is in part what it does is mean that the lead agency has the greatest level of intelligence and understanding at its fingertips of what is known about road safety in the country. This is not a task to delegate to other agencies. The lead agency must have a very strong presence in monitoring and evaluation and definitely data management. So recommendations regarding an electronic national road crash database in line with good practice and the Africa Road Safety Observatory, making sure that data is being shared, able to be shared across government agencies and research organisations at the least. That you can look at national and regional road safety observatories in a similar vein as has been established through ARSO. And that there's a focus on developing baseline measures for key risk factors and an annual monitoring and evaluation program. You don't need to do everything every year, but it's so beneficial if, and we see this in some of the examples, so beneficial to start building up a systematic understanding of the performance indicators that are going to drive road safety. Last recommendation regarding capacity building. And really, this is a vital part of the lead agency task, and what needs to be seen as the lead agency responsibility and effort over time. Again, not just for the lead agency, but for the national road safety effort as a whole. So it's recommended that countries develop a specific road safety capacity building program, including traffic safety courses for all people working in road safety and technical guidelines for personnel in different disciplines. If you're an engineer, you need a certain type of capability and understanding, but you need a different set of capabilities and understanding if you're a police, a traffic police, or if you're regulating vehicles. there's a whole series of professional disciplines that need to be supported. There's obviously a gap in relation to the connection with ongoing research programs in universities, and we'd really strongly recommend collaboration with universities to identify gaps in road safety education and develop and execute a research agenda. Overall, a knowledge transfer strategy that provides, that ensures that there's a constant stream of new information and research being shared and distributed to all agencies, partners, and stakeholders. As I said, there's a lot in the report. I'd encourage you to consider it. We're all very happy to answer questions and engage in chat or be contacted afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Martin and Winnie and Mustafa, for that insightful presentation. I would invite now the panelists for the next session on the panel discussion. Please, could you please stop sharing your screen? Thank you so much. So let me first introduce our panelists, our distinguished panelists. We have Mr. Thabiso Ndele. He's the executive manager at the Road Traffic Management Corporation, RTMC, of South Africa, and he oversees road safety, stakeholder management, as well as marketing since March 2020. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Benacer Bulaju. He's the General Director of Morocco's new National Road Safety Agency since May 2019. He is also the chair of the African Road Safety Observatory Steering Committee. Welcome, Mr. Benacer. Then I would also like to introduce Mrs. Djadji Sako. She is the Director General of the National Agency for Road Safety, ANASER, of Mali. She is also the current president of the West African Road Safety Organization, WARSO. And last but not least, I would like to invite Ms. Evelyn Murphy, who is a public health lawyer at the World Health Organization. Her focus for the past 10 years at the WHO has been on supporting the development of legislative and policy frameworks for sustainable transport in developing countries. Now, without further ado, I hand it over to my colleague, Hailey, who is the Africa Transport Policy Program's Acting Road Safety Pillar Lead. Over to you, Haile. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kaori. Thank you for the introduction. Let me thank the presenters for the great presentation and for producing this important report that will, I hope, will serve as a basis for further discussions, practitioners with their government, with policymakers, as how to strengthen road safety institutions in their countries. So it's also will be a good starting point for us, for the development partners, really to see areas of support to strengthen road safety institutions in Africa. So thank you very much for this report. I have highlighted basically the challenges and recommendations on going forward. We have today a great panelists who has first-hand experience in leading road safety institutions. So they will share with us their experience, the challenges they face, and the achievements, and also lessons, for us to learn. Without any further delay, I will go to some of the questions I have with our panelists. Maybe I will start with Benacer, the Director General Road Safety Agency in Morocco. Benacer, we heard from the presentation there are 3 different institutional setup that they have identified. Some are government departments, some are autonomous agencies, some are simply secretariats. When I understand that Morocco has an autonomous road safety lead agency. So how has the road safety in Morocco benefited from establishing the road safety agency with a financial and organizational autonomy? How is that helped in addressing road safety challenges in Morocco?
Thank you, Hailey.
Yeah,
thank you, Hailey. Thank to all the panelists and also to the audience. I'm very pleased to share with you our experience in road safety management and also from the institutional perspective. But just before to start, I want just to let you know that the management of road safety in Morocco started very, very early in 1977 by the creation of what we call in that time National Committee for Prevention from Traffic Accidents. And we were focused mainly on communication, road education, and also research and development, and also purchasing the road safety equipment, and we deliver them to the police and gendarmerie in our country. And we started also our first national road safety strategy in 2004. And it was for 10 years. And then we evaluate this first strategy. And then we launched the second one in 2007 for the decade 2017 to 2026. And during this strategy, one of the main objectives of this strategy is to create or to implement National Road Safety Agency, and I have the pleasure and the honor to be a general director of this new institution. And I worked on the project from the beginning with all stakeholders in our continent. And believe me, I mean, the way on the road was not easy. We had a lot of difficulties, in sometimes when you want to cut some mission to other organization and other administration. It's not easy, but we success in this way. And we fight sometimes in the parliament. And also it took 4 years in the parliament to adopt the final the final law. But the concept of our National Road Safety Agency now, it's really secured at different level. The first one, we have a lot of mission in our organization, and those missions are related directly to road safety, and it started on focusing on acting on some behaviors maybe can be as a risk factor for traffic accidents. And for that, we are responsible for vehicle inspection. We are responsible for driver license, delivering driver license, and we are responsible also for automated surveillance. And this allow us maybe to monitor the road safety in our continent very well. And also we have in the board of this National Road Safety, we have all stakeholders are involved in the board. That means we have all ministries concerned by road safety: Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Interior, Gendarmerie, Police, Justice, and all, public sector. But also we have the professional sector involved in the board, mainly transport companies and insurance companies, and also vehicle inspection sector, and also training schools are represented in the board. And we have also the civil society, that means NGOs are also represented in the board. And in the overview, the general overview of the board, it's really well distributed between all stakeholders, public, private, and NGOs. And then we have, in terms of mission, and also how we are organized. We are organized at central level we have the general director, and we have under general director 6 directions. And the first one is completely focused on road safety, and in this direction we try to develop the expertise and research and development. We have inside also our National Road Safety Observatory, and we have also we try to develop also a crash investigation, and also to develop norms and standards for infrastructure. And we have another pole which is completely dedicated to information systems. We believe that information system is something which is very, very important, and we focus now on the digitalization, and also I mean to reduce the intervention of human resources as much as possible. And for that we have a lot of web services which allow partners, which allows also citizens to access to our services directly, without to have this necessary to move to our local representatives. And at central and at national and at regional level, we have also some small national road safety. Our NARSA, we call NARSA, our agency is called NARSA. We have NARSA representative at regional level, but also at some in 75 local, provinces and municipalities. And I think what is very, very important is the funding, and the funding of our activity is completely secured. And our funding is coming mainly from the cost of services we deliver to the citizens, mainly for the document of driver license, and also for the vehicle registration, vehicle inspections. We have a lot of services. We have some amount of money they have to pay, but also we have lot of taxes. We have taxes from insurance companies, we have taxes from oil companies, from car companies, and also from vehicle inspections partners or companies. And also we have, if needed, if it's needed, we can have also the support from the state. And now the support from the state, it's coming maybe to be reduced, because we will reach maybe next year our in terms of accounting, our stability, and also our full we can fund and we can finance all our activities by our own resources. So I'm ready if there is any more information we can share with you, but just to say that our role is to be the main player in terms of implementation of road safety strategy. We have to strengthen the coordination between all stakeholders, to be that all stakeholders share the same targets, the same objective, to be sure that they are involved and they are in the implementation of our action plan. We try to develop also research and development, because we believe that research and development is very important, maybe to manage road safety from scientific way. We try to develop also the expertise, development of the expertise in road safety, mainly in the crash investigation. We focus also on data management, because we believe that if you have the good data, you can have a good strategy and a good action plan. And for that, we have our National Road Safety Observatory with high-level competence, and maybe inside this organization. And also, we try to develop a set of road safety indicators and behavioral road safety indicators, which is very, very important, which allow you maybe to monitor road safety as much as possible, and not to wait until maybe to have the result of crashes. You have to monitor the behavior of road users, which is mainly those who are risky, like speed, like helmet use, like seatbelt, like child restraint, and other maybe behavior that are very, very strongly linked to the risk of crashes. But also we focus on road education. We believe if you success to integrate road education at school in the curricula. Maybe you are preparing the future generation to be more aware, more involved, more they can believe and they can share this culture of road safety and of good behavior on the road. And for that, we did a great work with the Ministry of National Education. And now it's mandatory. I mean, road education is in the curricula for the primary school. And we started this year the National Road Safety Certificate, the certificate for road safety, also in the secondary school, which also is very important and allow us maybe to push the road safety as much as possible. But also we have a good relation with the professionals, and I believe that if you can integrate the management of road safety inside private companies, you can help, you can contribute to improve the road safety in your country. And this year we launched 2 programs directly maybe linked to private sector. And the first one is the Renewal Program. That means we support financially companies, mainly companies involved or operating in the transport sector, to renew their fleets by supporting them financially. And we have $25 million for that each year to support private sector to renew their fleets. And also we support financially or fully the training of professional drivers, because in Morocco by law no one is allowed maybe to be a professional driver if he didn't maybe follow some special training. And for that we have the training to start the profession, but also after each 5 years he have to renew this training. And we support financially this program by $10 million each year. Also we are working with the General Direction of National Road Administration, and also we work with them for the black spot management, and we support them by we have a program for 5 years, and it's $100 million during 5 years, and each year we give maybe our part to this huge program. But also for local authorities and with municipalities, we prepared what we call a document reference with standards and norms they have to respect when they manage the infrastructure in municipalities. That's in order maybe to have the same infrastructure and the same management of the infrastructure and the same signals, the same codes and norms in all cities. And we are now doing training and building capacities with the municipalities in the whole of the country. And we started now, we finished with 2 regions, and the program is ongoing, and we hope to finalize it as soon as possible. I believe that road safety is something which is very professional. You need some expertise, you need some, building capacity. You have to work with everyone, you have to involve everyone. You don't have to miss, any component. Also with the NGOs, and with NGOs we support them financially, and we launch a call of projects, and we can support. And now we have 200 projects under evaluation inside our organization, and we will launch maybe during this summer to involve them maybe by the implementation of this program at national level. So this is a general overview. It's very it takes a lot of time if I have to develop everything, but just to let you know that we have the action plan for 5 years, and the action plan is adopted by the board. And in the board we have all stakeholders involved, and we year by year we try to implement, but also we develop this sense of evaluation. You need to evaluate yourself and maybe to adjust your action plan year by year if you want maybe to improve the situation. And the results are very, very good until now, because we start the real decrease of fatalities by year by year, maybe since we started this strategic road safety management using the first strategy and the second strategy. And if we are ready maybe to share with you the data if you need. Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much, Benacer, for this very elaborative explanation how the Road Safety Agency in Morocco achieved what it achieved. The funding sources, the stakeholder engagement, the participation of the private sector, and having also a strong action plan, for 5 years. And thank you very much. I'm sure our participants, picked a lot of lessons from your experience. Thank you very much. Appreciated. Let's talk about strategies. The researchers, the presenters, they mentioned that most of the road agencies have strategies, but implementation of these national road safety strategies, is not easy, and for various reasons. So I'd like to hear from South Africa your experience on implementation of these strategies. Thabiso, how has the road traffic management the road traffic management corporation that you are leading has been leading implementation of the national road safety strategy, and what road safety lessons have you learned from that, which can be applicable to other road safety agencies, just to learn from your experience? Thank you.
Good afternoon to you, Haley, the panelists, as well as everyone. I think first, before I respond to your compound question, maybe great thanks to Professor Winnie Mitula, Mustafa Martinsmore for the great work and the great presentation. Thank you very much. I think the very first thing is that as a country, as the lead agency, in fact, even embedded in the strategy, we recognize that road safety is everywhere. What does that mean? It means that as the lead agency, we have the responsibility to engage with all the stakeholders regarding the strategy. It means we have to put marketing effort to around the strategy, because not everybody is in the road safety space. Some are in health. We have to engage with health. Some are in trade and industry, which regulates safer vehicles, alcohol distribution, and so forth. Others are in basic education, whereby we have to teach young people about road safety. So the paramount thing we have put energy towards is to market, to engage with the stakeholders. The second one talks to the political leadership, but you have to be very specific about what you want from the political leadership. Benacer right now mentioned that the 5-year plan, or their 5-year plan, was approved by the board. Therefore, as decision makers and as influencers, you've got to be very clear about what you seek and use their leverage and their power to actually drive that. The third one, which probably answers as to how we've been implementing or have been driving the implementation of the strategy, talks to the information collection. I saw Prof. Mitula right now responded to the fact that data is everything to what and how we're going to execute our strategy. So what does that mean? It means that if somebody is going to come to us and say, listen, we don't believe your crash statistics 12,000 per year. We think there are 500 more. What is the issue? We actually engage with them and find out where are the weaknesses in the collection and the processing of that information. So you really have to be transparent and be open to engagement with various stakeholders, both in the private and in the public sector. The second part of your question, Haley, talks about what are the road safety lessons we have learned as a country. And perhaps I'm going to merge it with one of the questions which was asked by the panel in terms of, I think it was Ahmed, who says, can the panel and the guests speak more about what they could do better in their settings? The very first one is we have to apply the correct solutions in the context that you operate in. I'll make a quick example about how a German university did visit us 3 weeks ago. They wanted to research more or to refine their autonomous driving model. So when they come to South Africa, which is a hybrid of a first and a third world country, they did expect pedestrians crossing the road, but they didn't expect pedestrians on the road selling stuff. So therefore for them, it was taboo, but for us, it wasn't. And therefore, with that example, it is to say we need to contextualize the problems to where we're trying to resolve our issues. The second one, which is a lesson learned, and I'm glad that Mr. Small in his recommendations did mention it, it is the issue of funding. Road safety does cost a lot of money, but maybe the hidden benefit is this. If we were to implement the right measures at the right time, it is very difficult to appreciate the lives that are saved because of those interventions. So we shouldn't beat ourselves too much for highlighting the fact that road safety is an expensive business, and we need to, amongst our stakeholder engagement, reach out to that private sector who indirectly benefit from having less crashes on the road, simply from an economic and the ease of doing business in a particular country. The last bit talks to perhaps maybe what is applicable for other lead agencies. The first one is you need to put energy into marketing the strategy. You need to involve as many people as you can, but here's the catch. You need to tell them what is their role in the bigger scheme of things, because a Department of Health may not be a road safety practitioner, if I may classify them as that way, but they have a role to play in where the ambulances are placed in the case of post-crash care. So as a lead agency, you have the responsibility to really alert everyone about their role in the bigger scheme of things. You also have to share with them short to medium term short, medium, and long-term interventions, so that they too, as they think about their business, as they think about executing their mandate, they are able to address some of the key performance areas in the National Road Safety Strategy. So having said that, maybe to touch on the last point, Ahmed asked whether the things we would consider differently or what would we change in our settings. One of the fundamental phases we are going through as the country is the fact that we want to start having leading KPIs instead of lagging KPIs. Yes, we would have a monitoring and evaluation, but a leading KPI would be, for example, having a number of engineering solutions at a hazardous location. What does that do? I know that if I've got a leading KPI, it makes me be more active, be more responsive, and maybe, to take the words from Mustafa's slides, to be results focused, as opposed to implementing and hoping for the best that everything went according to plan. So that's the key thing I think we're focusing on having leading KPIs. And as I perhaps conclude, reaching out to stakeholders gives you two advantages. The first one is we really rally support for the people who are pro-road safety in their mandate. You leverage on the limited funding that is there. You actually stretch the rand or the dollar or the shilling that you have. On the positive side, and perhaps addressing those who are neutral or negative, you influence the conversation about road safety. Everybody would have noticed that in the last 2 years, both the conversation and the funds that would have been allocated to road safety, for example, have had to be redirected to COVID-19. Everybody spoke about COVID-19, and that is the same impact that we need to have in our marketing and communication strategy about the National Road Safety Strategy. Thank you, Haley.
Very good, Thabiso, excellent. Thank you very much for the insight and sharing your experience and what the Road Traffic Management Corporation in South Africa has achieved, and also for your advice for other road safety lead agencies on marketing strategies, stakeholder engagement, sharing their program. So thank you very much for that. And having that shared vision, on the strategy is very important. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. Appreciate it. I would like us now to discuss a bit on the coordination side, where we are having challenges. Many road safety agencies, in fact, that's one of the big challenges, bringing different stakeholders in one table to discuss the road safety issues and agreeing on the strategy, getting their buy-in is a challenge. Coordination is also highlighted in the presentation, and that's what we see in many countries. I would like to ask the Director General, National Road Safety Agency from Mali, how they are dealing with coordination issues, particularly when it comes to implementing, program for road safety, like the safe system approach. We all know that the safe system approach is now the way forward for better road safety management and outcomes. However, coordination among different agencies is a challenge, and it's pose some difficulties going forward. So how do you address these coordinating challenges in Mali? What are your experience, and what are the lessons now you would share with us, with the participants? Thank you. Over to you.
Merci beaucoup, merci de me donner la parole. J'espère que tout le monde m'entend. D'abord, je m'excuse pour le fait de ne pas pouvoir rejoindre la réunion facilement parce qu'il y a des problèmes de connexion ici. Et je vous remercie de votre patience à ce niveau. Et je voudrais aussi féliciter tous les intervenants, les experts pour leurs interventions de qualité, et aussi le partage d'expérience du Maroc et de l'Afrique du Sud. Bien évidemment, ça nous donne beaucoup d'informations, beaucoup d'idées, et surtout je félicite le Maroc qui va à l'équilibre pour la prise en charge du financement de leurs activités de sécurité routière en 2023. Et j'espère que le Mali atteindra ce niveau-là très rapidement. En tout cas, c'est mon ambition. Mais je vous remercie pour la question. C'est vrai que l'Agence nationale de la sécurité routière qui existe depuis 2009, et donc qui, depuis 2021 seulement, donc, a une stratégie nationale de sécurité routière adoptée par les pouvoirs publics et assortie d'un plan d'action 2021-2025, donne clairement la situation de la gestion de la sécurité routière au Mali, et surtout identifie les acteurs qui doivent intervenir dans cette gestion-là. Et évidemment, nous rencontrons dans cette gestion-là beaucoup de difficultés dans la coordination. L'agence chef de file de la sécurité routière, qui est l'ANASER, a énormément de difficultés parce que nos missions ne sont pas étendues à un certain niveau, ce qui empêche réellement de pouvoir travailler efficacement. Donc, évidemment, dans cette gestion, c'est le ministère des Transports, en charge des Transports, en tout cas, qui a la gestion de la sécurité routière. Et dans ce ministère, déjà, il y a différentes directions qui interviennent dans le réseau routier, en tout cas dans la gestion de la route en général. Et donc, les aspects de sécurité routière ne sont pas forcément, en tout cas, des attributions confiées à l'Agence nationale de la sécurité routière, donc à l'ANASER. Et ça, c'est venu du fait que l'ANASER, à sa création en 2009, a été tirée de la Direction générale des transports, qui est une direction du ministère des Transports, et qui avait en fait toutes les attributions qui doivent revenir, en fait, qui devaient en tout cas aller à l'ANASER à sa création. Mais malheureusement, après la création, les attributions sont restées au niveau de la Direction générale des transports. Et dans l'élaboration, en tout cas dans la fabrication des routes, je ne sais plus comment dire en français, il y a la direction générale des routes, qui est aussi une direction du ministère des Transports, donc qui est chargée de tout ce qui est, en tout cas, infrastructure routière au niveau du Mali. Et évidemment, nous, en tant que gestionnaire de la sécurité routière, nous sommes obligés de nous appuyer sur la direction générale des routes pour les aspects d'insécurité routière que nous relevons à travers nos inspections routières, à travers nos audits routiers. Donc, toute la complexité vient déjà au niveau de la coordination, au niveau des ministères qui sont en charge des transports. Et au-delà de notre ministère, donc le ministère des Transports, il y a d'autres départements ministériels qui interviennent aussi dans la gestion de la sécurité routière, à savoir notamment le ministère de la Sécurité et de la Protection civile au Mali, et à travers ces deux directions, la direction générale de la police et aussi la direction générale de la gendarmerie. Ce que vous devez savoir, c'est que la NASER, aujourd'hui, qui a une équipe très insuffisante, en tout cas pour faire face aux questions de sécurité routière au niveau national, n'a même pas d'agent assermenté qui peut aller sur le terrain pour pouvoir procéder à des contrôles routiers seul. Donc, on est obligé de nous adjoindre toujours la police ou la gendarmerie pour pouvoir travailler sur la route. Donc, nos activités de sensibilisation, nous sommes obligés de les mener aux côtés de la police et de la gendarmerie, à plus forte raison des actions de contrôle routier. Donc, cela complique davantage notre fonctionnement et notre travail et évidemment joue sur notre performance. Et pour cela, pour faciliter cela, nous sommes obligés chaque année de faire une convention avec la police et la gendarmerie pour pouvoir travailler à sortir d'un programme d'activité annuel de contrôle routier, pour pouvoir travailler. Et eux, évidemment, ils font le contrôle et nous procédons à la sensibilisation dans le cadre de ces contrôles-là. Donc, il y a aussi la protection civile qui relève aussi du ministère de la Sécurité et de la Protection civile, qui est chargée de la gestion post-accident. C'est des pompiers qui sont chargés d'intervenir après, à chaque fois qu'un accident survient sur la route, après les constats de la police et de la gendarmerie. Donc, vous comprenez pourquoi, en fait, la NASA a vraiment des difficultés pour pouvoir travailler efficacement et surtout pouvoir prendre en charge réellement toutes les activités de sécurité routière et avoir un résultat au final. Donc, au-delà de ça, il y a aussi les collectivités territoriales qui interviennent dans la gestion de la sécurité routière dans les communes. Donc, la gestion de la sécurité routière est sous leur responsabilité à travers les lois de décentralisation. Donc, toutes ces choses-là, donc toutes ces difficultés que nous rencontrons parce que les activités ne sont pas concentrées au niveau de l'agence de chef d'équipe de la sécurité routière et le problème de coordination se pose parce que, étant donné que les acteurs n'ont pas la même tutelle, ou en tout cas n'ont pas la même hiérarchie. Donc, on est obligé à chaque fois de passer par la hiérarchie de la police, de la gendarmerie ou de la protection civile pour pouvoir intervenir. Au niveau du ministère des Transports même, on est obligé de passer par le ministère pour pouvoir atteindre la direction générale des routes quand nous constatons un problème d'insécurité routière urgent à traiter. Et pareil, au niveau de la direction générale des transports, c'est que la direction nationale, donc le processus de changement de statut est en cours, donc ça va devenir une direction générale des transports. C'est elle qui recouvre nos ressources. Donc, il y a un problème de financement aussi de la sécurité routière. Donc, l'Agence nationale de la sécurité routière, chef d'équipe de la sécurité routière, est vraiment confrontée à d'énormes problèmes. Et nous pensons qu'avec la mise en œuvre, en tout cas efficiente et efficace de la stratégie nationale de la sécurité routière, nous pourrons nous pourrons sortir un peu de ces difficultés-là. Et évidemment, si on arrive en tout cas à mettre en place une meilleure coordination de tous les acteurs, en tout cas, nous œuvrons chaque année à cela. Hein. C'est pour ça en fait que nous dispensons chaque année, nous proposons des programmes de formation aux élus locaux pour qu'ils prennent conscience de la responsabilité qui pèse sur eux et aussi à la police et à la gendarmerie parce que c'est eux qui interviennent pour la collecte de données sur le terrain, c'est eux qui interviennent pour la mise en œuvre efficace, en tout cas le respect du code de la route et des règles d'association routière et qui sanctionnent donc les infractions. Et donc, il y a beaucoup d'actions qui sont entreprises au niveau de l'agence centrale de la NASER, pour pouvoir mettre ensemble l'ensemble de ces acteurs-là et faire, en tout cas, proposer une meilleure coordination des activités. Et évidemment, je pense que si on arrive à mettre en place le fonds autonome de sécurité routière, donc qui est une obligation, en tout cas, de la stratégie nationale de sécurité routière, qui est maintenant, qui a une force de loi. Donc, on pourra éventuellement trouver un mécanisme pour pouvoir coordonner l'ensemble des activités de sécurité routière, d'où que ces activités-là sont proposées ou viennent. Parce que le problème des collectivités, leur intervention est minime et surtout, il y a un problème de prise de conscience de leur rôle dans la gestion de la sécurité routière. Mais au-delà de ça, ils ont un problème de moyens aussi. Et sous la direction générale des routes, qui est quand même un service du ministère des Transports, donc quand on la sollicite pour des questions d'insécurité routière à régler d'urgence, il y a des difficultés parce qu'ils ont des difficultés financières aussi. Donc si on arrive en tout cas à créer ce fonds de sécurité routière, et le processus est en cours, c'est très lent parce qu'il faut une réelle implication des pouvoirs publics et donc pour pouvoir mettre en place ce fonds et pouvoir l'alimenter et aussi l'accompagnement des partenaires techniques et financiers du Mali, on pourra trouver des solutions et surtout on pourra avoir une meilleure coordination et une coordination efficace et pour faire face aux nombreux problèmes d'insécurité que nous avons sur nos routes. Évidemment, comme vous le savez, les routes maliennes sont très sollicitées, et notamment les routes dans les villes. Aujourd'hui, au-delà des véhicules, donc des automobiles, il y a un autre phénomène qui nous est tombé dessus depuis 2020. Pratiquement, ça a commencé un peu en 2019, mais c'est en 2020 que ça s'est vraiment développé. En 2021, bon, ça devient, on n'arrive même plus à savoir comment gérer. Donc ça, c'est le phénomène des mototaxis. Donc au-delà des tricycles qu'on appelle communément ici katakatani, et donc qui sont sur les routes, il y a aussi les taxis qui sont devenus des transports de passagers et les mototaxis, et avec des conducteurs qui n'ont aucune notion du code de la route. Et donc, évidemment, il faut l'implication des collectivités, il faut l'implication aussi des associations de sécurité routière et des ONG de sécurité routière avec qui nous travaillons beaucoup. Mais ces associations et ONG aussi, il faut aussi les dynamiser. Et évidemment, dans la coordination, il y a aussi la presse qui a un rôle à jouer. Donc, tous ces acteurs-là, nous essayons de les fédérer autour de la question de la sécurité routière et pour pouvoir gérer efficacement en tout cas la problématique d'insécurité routière dans notre pays. Malheureusement, chaque année, nous dénombrons beaucoup de morts et de blessés graves, et de blessés légers et blessés graves sur nos routes. En 2021, nous avons procédé à la validation des statistiques en avril dernier, et en 2021, nous avons dénombré 736 morts. Évidemment, nous avons aussi un problème dans la collecte des données d'accidents et les informations ne sont pas, en tout cas, toujours satisfaisantes à nos yeux parce qu'on pense qu'on peut aller vers des statistiques beaucoup plus fiables et désagrégées parce qu'on a ce problème-là de pouvoir les désagréger. Et je pense qu'au mois de l'étude, on s'est rendu compte de beaucoup de difficultés que nous avons parce qu'il y avait beaucoup d'informations qu'on ne pouvait pas fournir parce que nous ne les avons pas. Et parce que c'est la police et la gendarmerie qui collectent les données jusqu'à présent pour le compte de la NASER. Et nous sommes en train de mener une étude justement avec la santé et la protection civile pour pouvoir prendre en compte aussi leurs données, pour éviter une grande disparité dans les données que les services pourvoyeurs de données nous fournissent chaque année. Donc, évidemment, on a ce problème de coordination et on est en train de travailler, vraiment de travailler à ce que cela soit une réalité, parce que c'est seulement comme ça que nous pourrons faire face, en tout cas, à la problématique d'insécurité routière. Donc, je vous remercie de votre attention. Je pourrais développer un peu plus, mais je pense que le temps est un peu compté. Merci.
Great. Thank you very much, Diaji, for sharing your experiences. And I think the message here is that, again, stakeholder engagement, engaging stakeholders at all levels is very important at all stages. And one important, last message you mentioned is that, yes, we have challenges, we have, difficulties, but still, we can move forward, we can tackle those challenges. So, and coordination is a problem everywhere. but there is always a room for doing things. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Very good.
Merci à vous.
Yeah, appreciate it. I would like us to raise a bit on the support that road safety agencies need. One of the recommendations from the study is for development partners to support road lead safety institutions to strengthen their capacity and management. My question goes to Evelyn Murphy, the public health lawyer at WHO. Evelyn, given WHO's global footprint on road safety, how can the WHO help countries, African countries, strengthen road safety management? If you give us some ideas, how can they get support, and if some of the works you have done in the future, and also there is a plan. Some of the works you have done in the past and the future plan, if there is any. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you very much, Ellie. Thank you, colleagues, friends, participants from countries and international development. This is a very important question that you raise, and I think the results of the research says it all, that lead agencies are really challenged with coordinating road safety in the countries. What can WHO bring to the table? So as you know, we've had the last decade of action during which we very much emphasized the need for a fully funded lead agency to coordinate efforts in countries, including strategies, legislation, monitoring, etc. There is a new decade that we're facing now. In the last decade, we did not achieve the goal that we were hoping all to achieve, which was to reduce deaths. We have a new decade here. And now we're really looking at framing the discussion differently. We're really encouraging governments and lead agencies and all key players to really make safety a core culture of their decision making. And that really means in all aspects of whether it's strategy development, it is funding, it is data, it is communication and education to the public. This is really core, because what it does is it broadens road safety discourse beyond just roads and road users. We're really looking at safety for the whole of society, and this is a really important aspect of the lead agency's role. One of the challenges that we heard in the presentations has to do a lot with funding, for example, with lack of a capacity. There are resources available. WHO a few years back issued the Save Lives package, which really outlines some of the key interventions that are necessary to reduce road traffic deaths. We need to do perhaps a better job at disseminating this kind of information and really providing technical guidance on implementation. We do have now on staff an individual to support countries in implementation, the decade of action in countries. And so this is going to be very important in how we relate to countries, where countries are and what they are doing concretely in terms of strategy development and implementation to achieve reductions in road traffic deaths. So of course, joint research is important, research and dissemination of findings, such as what we have heard from today on roles and responsibilities of lead agencies, what the successes are, what the challenges are, but more especially what solutions are possible to mitigate those challenges. And we've heard discussions around, country context. This is very much, a key aspect of making sure that strategies are developed that make sense in a country. It doesn't help a lot to take a broad strategy, which a lot of what happened last decade is, take the 5 pillars, apply them, or put them in strategies, really without thinking necessarily what this means in terms of implementation in the country. We need to really make the message clear that we need to go away from a cookie cutter approach to really look at what the evidence says, what the strategies are that work, and how can we make them work, country by country or region by region. Regional coordination is also important for lead agencies, and this is something that I cannot stress enough. If you use the example of used vehicles that come into African countries that are unsafe, if there isn't a regional approach to the solution, an unsafe vehicle that comes into one country easily circulates in other countries across the continent. So it's really important for lead agencies to work together, to seek out what each other is doing within the region, to be able to, reach perhaps some understanding through existing mechanisms, whether it's regional coordination mechanisms, etc., that are already available, to be able to strengthen those kinds of regulatory systems for safety. And last but not least, I want to mention our role in terms of data collection. As you know, we are currently working on a new global status report. The data collection will be will begin soon, the second half of this year. And we'll be looking specifically at asking questions around the roles of lead agencies. We've formally asked very high level questions around, whether there's a lead agency or whether it's funded. We're trying to gather information that would provide a lot more detail in terms of the roles and responsibilities of the lead agency. And one interesting aspect of that has to do with specifically what is the lead agency's role in terms of surveillance of the population's concern on on safety. And that again goes to the safety culture. What is it that the public is concerned about, and what can lead agencies and other agencies who are part of basically the overall ensuring overall road safety in the country, what do they need to do for the public? We're looking at also asking questions around how the public is using transportation. Are they walking? Are they cycling? Right now, this tends to be very much of a focus on cars. So we need to broaden that as well. So we're hoping that that data collection will provide more information and more insights into what is going on in countries. And then, of course, disseminating that information to member states. So I hope this has answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. Appreciated. I will have one more follow-up question on that, but in the interest of time, for now, let's go to the questions raised by participants. If time allows, I'll get back to you on the global status report of the 2023, and I would like you to give us some information on that. But let's first go to the questions from participants. Yeah? Thank you very much again for this clarification. There are some questions posted in the chat. I will read some of the questions and ask the panelists or the presenters to answer. The first question is, I think, from WHO Mats Berlin. Thank you, Mats, for joining. This question goes directly to the presenters. Have you studied the relationship between lead agencies and multi-goal organizations such as road agencies, public works, and how safety is mainstream into their priorities? Martin, yes, please go ahead, Martin.
Just briefly on that, Haley, the report includes the questionnaire that was sent out to all of the lead agencies, and based on that, on the information that we got, we were able to pull this report together. There is actually a figure 4.11 which in the report, which highlights how agencies rated their own effectiveness in working with other agencies. So actually the lead agencies reported most difficulty in working with local government agencies or subnational agencies. So that's included in the report somewhat.
Great, thank you. There is another question from much. It's related to the recommendation, I think. So let me. Yeah, okay. So the question is, not sure about your conclusion about NGOs and lead agencies. Could you please clarify? So Martin, maybe if you quickly touch this question as well.
I'll take this one quickly, yes. I think it was quite clear from the study as a whole that there can be a disconnect between the lead agencies and all of the stakeholders outside government who are so critical to road safety in a country, whether that's academia, business, community interests, whatever. So we certainly, one of our recommendations was that while the interagency governance mechanisms need to be strengthened, there is a real need for lead agencies to reach out beyond government to ensure that they have an ongoing relationship and engagement with the stakeholders who are so critical in their own way.
Thank you, Martin. There are two questions specifically addressed to Benacer on Morocco's experience. Well, the first one is it's a general one. Can the organizers assist in sharing with us the legal documents established in the Morocco Road Safety Agency? So I leave that one to Benacer. But the second question is, does Morocco receive financial support from donors for funding the training and capacity building of the drivers and transport companies? If so, what is the procedure in place to reach out to and obtain support from donors? This is from both questions from Yaya. Thank you, Yaya, for your questions. Benacer, if you quickly address those two.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for the first question, yes, the document, I mean, the final document of the law, we can share it. It's no problem. We can just maybe send me the email and we can share with you this the law. And there is not only the law, but also there is what we call the decree, décret d'application de la loi. And that means where we can precise something which is not explicit and more developed in the law document. So we have 4 decrees where we can, when the first one is about maybe the board of the organization, or because in the board we need to name, to mention namely maybe the representative of each ministerial department or other stakeholders. And also there is another decree just for financial issue when we precise exactly the amount and the percentage of the taxes and also the amount of the cost of each services we are delivering. And also there is another document related to the organization, but we are really to share all what we did. And I have just to mention that the process is very long. It's not easy. I don't know. I hope it could be not the same in your country, yeah, but the process is really very long, because if you want to set up a very good I mean lead agency, you need to be focused, and you need to be very careful about which kind of mission you have to involve in the agency, in order maybe you can play your role exactly and you can impact the trend of road safety in your country. And this you have to fight with other organizations. Maybe you have to fight with other organizations to have some mission. They are belonging to other organization now, and this is it's not easy. I think the good start could be to launch a national, I mean, consultation and to convince, I mean, all stakeholders, they have to be there, and to be agree with them about maybe the mission. And this, it's a huge challenge you have to conduct. And then when you finish, maybe you can be sure that you have a national lead agency with more power, with more mission. They can impact the trend of road safety in your continent. And also, I think the financial issue is something which is very, very critical. You know, now we have the support from the state. It's just because we, in the transition, we have lots of programs and we have lots of tenders. We have to finish and we have to execute. They belonged before to other ministry. They are they belong to other administration. Now they join the lead agency. That's why we have the support just to finish the execution. I mean, of tenders and of some projects. We have now the responsibility. Otherwise, we have I mean, the full autonomy of funding and of regarding our budget. The second question is if you received some support from maybe foreign stakeholders. I can say no, we didn't receive any financial support from anyone. It could be, I don't know, maybe there is lots of the trust fund, maybe some countries they can apply, but I mean, in our case, we didn't receive any fund from global organization or something like that. We just define, I mean, the focus. We focused on this target. And the board decided that our lead agency must, I mean, manage and be the main responsible of this project. And what we did until now, and the project is under implementation in the good way. We have a lot of training schools accredited for that kind of training. And now and also the prices of training is fixed by law, and now it's very easy, I mean, to conduct this kind of program. And we are also willing maybe to share with you our experience in this issue. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Benacer. I think there's a huge interest to learn from Morocco's experience. I see also a question and you know, use a compliment from Dr. Nasrin Mohammed from Tunisia. And he's also asking whether there will be cross, you know, learning from African, you know, with African countries. I think on that aspect, through ARSO, the African Road Safety Observatory, we can organize that kind of you know, experience sharing. Benacer is the chair of the steering committee, so maybe I'm also sitting in the steering committee. So maybe Benacer will take this up and we can discuss. But there's one question that he posed very quickly, again, it's to you. Well, does the agency have an interministerial power, and is it attached to the Prime Minister's office? That's a question to you. And then we'll go to the next one. Thank you.
I will maybe reply or answer to this question to my colleague from Tunisia in French. L'Agence nationale de la sécurité routière a été créée par loi et les attributions, les missions de l'agence sont claires au niveau de la loi. Alors, au niveau national, toutes les agences, c'est-à-dire par constitution, ils relèvent du chef de l'État, du chef de gouvernement. C'est-à-dire qu'ils sont sous la tutelle directe du chef de gouvernement. Bien sûr, le chef de gouvernement, il délègue la présidence du conseil d'administration de l'agence au secteur de tutelle ou bien le secteur qui est lié directement à la structure, à cet établissement public. Dans notre cas, c'est le ministère du Transport et de la Logistique. Donc, le ministre on relève effectivement du chef de gouvernement, mais le président du conseil d'administration, c'est le ministre du Transport et de la Logistique. Alors, en dehors des missions de l'agence qui sont très claires avec des attributions très forte en ce qui concerne le management de la sécurité routière. Il y a le management institutionnel de la sécurité routière, et je pense que ça également, c'est un exemple très intéressant, c'est que nous avons le comité interministériel de sécurité routière qui est présidé par le ministre, par le chef du gouvernement, et le comité permanent, il est présidé par le ministre des Transports. Donc, nous, parce que la sécurité routière, c'est multisectoriel. Donc, il y a tout ce qu'on peut faire, nous, mais il y a par exemple tout ce qui est police, tout ce qui est ministère de l'Intérieur, tout ce qui est ministère des Finances, tout ce qui est ministère de la Santé, protection civile, etc. Donc, c'est des acteurs qui sont principaux et qui ne relèvent pas de notre agence. Donc, il faut avoir une forme institutionnelle beaucoup plus intéressante qui est à même de les impliquer de manière directe. Et ça se concrétise à travers le comité interministériel qui est présidé par le chef de gouvernement, où les ministres concernés sont représentés au niveau de l'agence. Et nous, en tant qu'agence, nous avons le rôle de la coordination, c'est-à-dire de la synchronisation, de l'élaboration. On contribue à l'élaboration du plan, de la stratégie nationale de la sécurité routière dans le cadre de cette approche participative avec les acteurs concernés. Mais c'est très important d'avoir cette cohésion d'ensemble à travers une autorité un petit peu régalienne au niveau du chef du gouvernement. Merci.
Thank you, Benacer. Thank you. Very quickly, the last one maybe. There is one question from Mats. Okay, it's from Mats again. How are the lead agencies today financed when there are no enough finance? So, from your research, Mustafa or Martin or Winnie, one of us, if you take up this question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Harry, and thank you, Matt, for this question. As stated before, of course, there is a huge lack of stable funding of road safety in Africa. Currently, we reported and we learned from this study that the public sector. Sorry, there is noises. We learned that the public sector remains the leading funder of road safety activities in Africa, followed by the private sector, and there is also contributions from multilateral development banks. And it is also important that 90% of road safety lead agencies are not satisfactory in terms of the total budget they receive from funders, and also a lot of agencies are working under below the average of financial and resources they might need to implement the national road safety strategies and related action plan. I think also that currently, as stated before, there is a huge lack of sustainable funding, and there is also, as we checked, also the sources of funding, as reported in the report, that Africa, a lot of lead agencies need to work with the government to set up a legislative plan to introduce more taxes and more fines and more sources to more fund road safety in general. I hope that I answered this question.
Great, thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, appreciate it. So I think those are the main questions. There may be some questions that we didn't pick up, but I think I covered most of them. So let me thank the presenters and the panelists, and of course, the participants for the great discussion we had. I myself learned a lot. Thank you very much all for your contribution. At this point, I may ask Mustafa, the manager of SSATP, for a closing remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you, everybody. I think we learned a lot. I would like to thank Winnie, Mustafa, Martin for an excellent presentation, and the panelists, Mr. Benacer, Bulaju, Diaji, and Evelyn from WHO for an excellent discussion. I mean, based on the attendance, we have nearly 100 people connected to this webinar. That shows the interest of many of us about road safety, and I think we learned a lot. If I have to conclude with some takeaways from what we heard and what we learned from this study, and then I will give you maybe what could be the next steps based on the recommendation from the SSATP perspective. I think in terms of developing road safety strategies, I think we made some progress in many countries. If I look what we've done as SSATP or at the World Bank and many development partners, there is a lot of support at a national level to develop these road safety strategies. We heard as well from the conclusion, from the findings of the studies, there is a little bit of awareness rising on the importance of tackling this road safety. There's a little bit of progress, but not enough on the coordination. This is a multi-sector discipline, multi-sector issue, and coordination remains a big challenge. We made a little bit of progress, but there is a lot of to be done. Then, if I take from what we've done on road safety strategies, developments as a document, strategic documents are there, I think now we would like to maybe move to the implementation. And that's where the big challenge lies. Why should we focus on implementation is really to keep the momentum of developing these strategies, because many people now come in, we have the strategies, we have the plan, but what is next? We don't see results. So I think even if we focus in few countries and show results, it will really serve its purpose, you know, to make sure that we don't stop just by developing these strategies, what we make them real by implementation. I think going forward, I think we need to focus on the results and making and support ourselves to implement these strategies. How to do this? If I look at the result of the funding, only 10 out of 16 countries that we surveyed say that they have a business plan, which means 6 out of 10, more than half, they don't, or sorry, we have 6 out of 16, more than a third, they don't have a business plan. We cannot implement any strategy or action plan without a business plan. And that's something that really attracted my attention. If we have to provide support now, we would like to make sure that these institutions, they have a clear business plan, and we can help, and that's maybe something, an area that SSATP will focus in the coming months and years to make sure that when there is an institution, it's equipped with a clear business plan. The other area of focus that I take away is really the importance of data. We cannot have a business plan without a good data. And then we go around and around, and this is cross-cutting in everything we do. And I'm glad we have this Africa Road Safety Observatory, and going forward, that will remain an area of focus of support of SSATP. And that's clearly come out of whatever we do on road safety, data, data, data. We cannot do the monitoring and evaluation. We cannot come out with a business plan with a clear result indicators without a reliable data. And that will remain an area of support of SSATP. And you heard it all, the other big challenge that came clearly as the main funding of this study, and we heard it from Morocco, from South Africa, from Mali, from who is really the funding, and what we call a sustainable funding. This is something that we would like to take on forward as SSATP. I think here, the angle of entry, the entry point is really to say road safety is a business, and it's a viable business. And I think a lot of advocacy needs to be done to say that it is like another investment, you know, it bears cost, and it bears also benefits and impact, a wider impact on society. And it's a very, very viable business. And I think we need to design from SSATP some advocacy tools that will convey this message clearly to the decision makers, because funding is key, and we have to do a lot of things. The last area of focus and priority that I picked up as well is the capacity building. You know, we cannot implement these business plans at the road safety agency level without good capacity, technical and managerial capacity. And here, I'm glad to share the news with you that SSATP is revisiting what we call the Road Safety Learning Program. We are scaling it up. We ran it in 4 countries over the last 3 years, and we are revisiting it, scaling it up, and would like to deploy it in as many African countries as possible. This is what we call leaders in road safety management and planning. And this is something we're going to work on forward. And I heard the WHO. I'm glad to hear the WHO that the focus is now on support to implementation and on data. I think we share the same common goals here. So I will stop here. Thank you so much again for the presentation, for the discussions. I think a lot of food for thought here, and I just gave you a little bit on what could be done from SSATP perspective. This is again, road safety is a thematic area which is a priority for the next 5 years, and I think this study gave us a little bit better understanding of the challenges, and most importantly, of some of the area of focus or priority areas that we're going to work on in the next coming months and years. Thank you so much again for your participation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mustafa. Thank you for these closing remarks. Before we close, I would like to thank the UK Aid and the Global Road Safety Facility for their support in conducting this study. They're the supporters of the, in fact, the Africa Transport Program. So I would like to extend on behalf of SSTP our thanks to their support. And one last announcement. Can I ask everyone to turn on your camera so that we can take a picture of the participants for record purposes? And in fact, we can be able to also see, who joined. Thank you very much. Appreciate if you turn on your camera.
For the speakers and the panelists, if you could please turn on your camera, I will do a quick snapshot.
Great.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Excellent. So thank you very much, everyone. So have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
And good morning. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Lovely to see you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.